Oh, that should be. So thank you very much, Angela.
Okay, would you let me know what you can see?
Yep, I can see your slide, your presentation. That's good.
Okay. All right. So today we are talking about mindfulness. So first of all, what is it? Why is it so important? What are the benefits? What challenges do we have to overcome? Then some practical techniques. And then, of course, questions if you've got any. Okay, so what is mindfulness? I mean, people think that it's meditation. It's actually far more than that. It basically means you're fully present and you're engaged with what's happening right now. You realize that what your thoughts are and you know what your feelings are, but you do that without getting sucked into them. You don't go into headspace and start talking to yourself, or you don't numb your body in order to keep functioning. You're really engaged full-heartedly, full body, full soul. Everything is right there. So your attention is all out there. And the other thing that I really like about it is there's no judgment. So when your attention is really out there, it's very hard to think about why is this the way it is. It's just is. And that opens up the field for really great interaction and communication. So why is mindfulness so important for leaders? So it helps you gain more clarity, more creativity, and more compassion. And it helps you make better decisions. So because you are more informed and you're more thoughtful, you don't get into the whole judgment drama. You don't get into talking to yourself and forget what other people are saying. We're going to do listening next time. So that's a whole new topic. And it's all about better stress management. So what mindfulness does, it actually prevents burnout. Because the problem we have is we're sucked into the past. So we have the regrets about the past and we have anxiety about the future. But when we're really, really present, it's very hard to get stressed, and especially when there's no judgment. And of course, it increases self-awareness and empathy, not just for ourselves, but also for others, or not just for others, but also for ourselves. So I just want to give a tiny little bit of science behind this. So studies have shown that when you practice mindfulness, what it does, it actually improves your cognitive functions. And so there are certain things that happen. The hippocampus grows. So the hippocampus is all about learning, regulating emotions. It's about spatial orientation, and it's about memory. So when you have a mindfulness practice, they actually show that after 8 weeks, you already have a growth in that area. You also grow in the area of the temporal-parietal lobe, or rather the junction, which is all about empathy and compassion. So mindfulness increases your compassion. And what happens, and that's really important, the amygdala, the organ and the gland in our brain that regulates fight, flight, freeze, and therefore the stress perception shrinks. So it's no longer the environment that causes us stress. It's the ability to react with more resilience to negative events and stimuli. Dr. Joe Dispenza, my amazing teacher, used to say, a true mastery is to be greater than the environment. And mindfulness will help you achieve that. So what it does, it just creates all of these new areas in the brain. It grows them, and they are the ones we actually want to have more of. Whereas amygdala function, just being running on fumes is not what we want, especially when we're in leadership, when we have to react mindfully to the people around us and don't want to judge them. We don't want to, and with a gig economy and people job hopping, being able to manage ourselves is becoming more and more and more important. So why is mindfulness so important? We have an average attention span of 8 seconds. So that has dropped. Why? Because smartphones arrived. So we're taking in 5 times as much information now than we did 25, 30 years ago. Now, we process in one day what a farmer 200 years ago would get as information in a year's time. And I'm sure that has increased. We process 100,000 words about every single day, and we spend 11 hours on our devices. And that is as much as 16 movies of information that we take in every single day. So it's hard to stay mindful because there is just so much information buzzing around us that it's important to be able to regulate our brain, to be able to stay mindful, present in the moment. Because there is a big myth out there. We think we can multitask. No, we can't. So when we switch our attention, there's actually a gap because the brain needs to pause in order to switch. And when we do that, we lose information that happens during that time. So which means basically when we do a task and then we switch to a conversation, or we watch TV and we answer an email, or we work on the computer and we eat, whatever it might be, all of these things impact each other. And what we do is we lose. When I talk about digestion, all of this impacts our digestive system and our immune system, by the way. So mindfulness extends the stimulus response. So there's this gap between what we see or what we notice and then how we react. And often what we do is when we're adrenaline and amygdala driven, we react immediately. But when we're mindful, we extend that period. And so we can listen mindfully, we can communicate mindfully. And for leadership especially, we can pause before we make decisions. So there's no knee-jerk reaction when you're mindful. It's considered, it's calm. Now, there are some people who really thrive on adrenaline. And that sounds like a great idea in the short run because adrenaline gives you lots of energy. In the long run, what it does, it undermines your immune system, your digestive system. And in 10, 15, 20 years' time, you will have long-term health consequences that you can avoid simply by being more mindful and in the present moment. So when you are fully listening and understanding and responding thoughtfully, you're already eliminating stress. You may find you ask more questions, which can eliminate lots of misunderstandings, which then includes also less drama. So what it does, it really strengthens the relationship between people and it creates a more collaborative and more positive work environment. So what are the things that get in the way? Busyness. And I can talk about all of these for a long time. Managing distractions. Again, turn off your notifications. There's time you can go and batch it. Go in every few hours and have a look at your emails and your notifications. Have set up a system that says if something is really, really urgent, that's what you will get to. But there has to be some sort of signal that allows you to differentiate between what's urgent and what's not. Finding time. Well, if you consider how much time we spend on social media, there is always time to practice mindfulness, even if it's just a few minutes a day to strengthen your brain. Exhaustion, definitely. Again, you will find that mindfulness will change that because you're focusing on single tasks. And then, of course, there's inconsistency. This is not something that you do once. Mindfulness develops over time. You need to develop your brain like a muscle. You don't go to the gym and start lifting 100-kilo weights immediately. You start with the smaller ones and work your way up. And that's the same as in order to create more brain function and to grow the areas you want to grow, you actually have to take the time. It's like training. And so therefore it requires patience, but we are very impatient these days. And when something doesn't happen, we immediately abandon it and find something else, or we outsource it to an AI. Unfortunately, this is one of those things you cannot outsource. So here are some tips to increase mindfulness. I can give you all of those, but the important thing is that you start with short sessions. Please do not think that you climb Mount Everest in a single day. As I said, you need to build your brain. Do it whatever you're doing. Mindfulness is not just sitting on the mountaintop and meditating. It's whatever you do. Take yourself off your devices. Take a break between tasks. Set yourself calendar reminders if need be. Scan your body. We're all walking heads. So take a time and just take a moment to just monitor. Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? What are your blood sugar levels like? How tense are you? Just by doing that, you're bringing yourself into the present moment. Start meetings with a mindful moment. That could just be get everybody to take a deep breath. or just be quiet for 30 seconds and really come in, because often people, no matter whether it's online or in person, people rush in and they're still fiddling with their devices. And when you stop and just wait until everybody's present, you will find that you create a much more coherent meeting. Remove clutter. Can't say enough about clutter, because that really helps you manage your mind. Find a mindful hobby. And that's anything you can do with full attention. It could be puzzling, painting, yoga. It could be walking, whatever you want it to be. Most importantly, practice self-compassion when it doesn't happen, because the inner voice will get in the way, but it's recognizing it and then managing it. Practice gratitude and reflect on your day. And please take off your earbuds when you go out or when you're talking to somebody. That would be my heart's desire, is when people go out into nature, which is really the best place to be mindful. And you hear a podcast, you're not going to be able to take in and stay in the moment, what nature has to offer, which is so useful and so important. And last but not least, please breathe. Practice breathing techniques. I can do a whole session just on breathing. When you breathe really deeply, you increase oxygen to your brain. You will automatically become more mindful and less reactive. So I can do a session on breathing, but this is it for today. Thank you for your attention. Please feel free to do my quiz and have a chat with me about whatever I've talked about and any questions you may have.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Angela. Has anybody got any questions for Angela? Just put your virtual hand up. But one of the things is, you said, first of all, that we've got an attention span of 8 seconds. They used to say that a goldfish has got 9 seconds. So I think I want to come back as a goldfish in my next life and pick up another second on what I've got at the moment. But as you said, the multitasking, a lot of people believe they can multitask, but nobody really multitasks, because, as you said, it's time division. We can only think of one thing at a time. And here's a little test you can all try. Write down the alphabet A to Z, and write down numbers 1 to 26 and time yourself. Then, once you've worked that timing out, then go 1A, 2B, 3C, and see how long that takes you. And I guarantee you that one, because left and right brain switching will take you longer than it took you to do the two of them separately together.
Thank you, Alan. I was just about to suggest that. So yeah, we're great minds, I hope.
It's a great little test. You soon work out, and all those people say, "Oh, I'm really great at multitasking." You put them through that, and they go, "Oh." Dr. Chris.
Yes, thanks very much, Angela. That was great. It's good to be. It's important, not only good. It's important to be reminded of these kinds of things on a fairly regular basis. I'm just wondering, are you familiar with the work of Professor Selena Bartlett? She's Brisbane-based. She's international author and presenter. She's a neuroscientist who talks a lot about neuroplasticity, and her latest book is called Being Seen, and it's to do with parents using devices all the time and kids and not connecting with their kids. But now that was great, and it's so important. And just breathing. It's so easy to forget to breathe because we do it so automatically. So thank you very much. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Since we're on books, very quickly, sorry, Sigrid, just a minute, there's another book that I highly recommend. It's by Johan Hari. Johan Hari, Hari. It's called Stolen Focus. It's a really, really good book.
Thank you.
Sigrid.
Angela, that was great. It just reminded me of, I've just started again doing a puzzle. Now, I've always loved puzzling, and my daughter and my granddaughter bought me this fantastic puzzle. It doesn't have a picture with it. So you got to read the murder mystery story and then got to start from nothing virtually. And I realized I caught myself in the middle of it, getting really frustrated and not wanting to do it and getting upset over it. And just wanting to throw it in, and then remembering, hey, why am I doing this? My intent here is to relax and enjoy. And I think, would it be appropriate to even call the mindfulness partially as being in life in the moment with intent? Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's really good. So thanks for that. Yeah.
Excellent. Neville.
Me unmute. Yeah, just a comment there about the mindful practices. I mean, some of the things, they're going to vary from person to person. I know sometimes that I will go and try and do mindful walking, but I find that when I'm walking, my brain goes off onto something else, and it's kind of like I'm actually not concentrating on what's actually happening with the walking. I'm in automatic pilot, and my brain is doing something else. So I'm just kind of wondering, what kind of recommendations would you have to actually make an activity mindful?
It's literally putting all your attention outside. And I know that sounds really easy, but it's practice. Everything, all of these things are practice. And it's focusing on one thing at a time. So often what we do when we walk is we try to take in everything. Right. And our peripheral vision opens up, and that's great. But when you do that, and then you keep focusing on one item at a time, you focus on that flower over there or that person's face. So you do one item at a time. So your brain actually really focuses on one task instead of trying to take it in all the time. You will still be able to have your peripheral vision open. You can trust your unconscious mind and your brain. If anything were to happen, it'll alert you to that. But if you get a little bit smaller and you just focus one thing at a time, you will find that that your attention goes out and you calm that voice on the inside as well.
Lovely. There's a lovely poem out there, or a comment that was made by a poet. I'm not sure if it was Thoreau or Emerson, and basically said, I went for a walk in the forest, and it was not until I got a mile into the forest that I realized that I hadn't even made it into the forest in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be right.
Thank you. I love that.
Dr. Chris.
Yes, I'm back again for a second go. Sorry about that. It just occurred to me the attention, the 8-second attention span. I work on the base with video. I work on the basis of a 3-second attention span to grab people's attention at the start of a business video, because I really think 8 seconds is being very, very generous these days. I think it's well and truly passed by now.
This is when you talk to people, like in one-on-one. They've actually tested and found out that GPs listen for an average of 13 seconds before they start thinking about what to prescribe. Can't get a lot of information in 13 seconds, but hey.
So on social media, it's around about 19 seconds before someone takes sides on anything that's been put up. And how much information do you have to be of any value with that? Yeah. Sabrina.
Look, don't have any questions or anything, but regarding the mindfulness, it took me back yesterday to my walk that I did with my dog and how much attention I paid to my surroundings. Because I was just so engrossed in my audiobook, I didn't realize my dog lost her jacket. So the jacket is gone. So it just makes me realize that, yeah, your focus is somewhere else. Either you just enjoy the walk without listening to an audiobook, or just keep going with it. But I like the fact also that you mentioned regarding puzzles or finding a new hobby. I started doing diamond painting and I love it. It just zones me into that little activity for an hour or so. And I just love it. And I love the end result, what I get out of it.
Excellent. Thanks, Sabrina. Pat.
Yeah, I want to share something beautiful with you. For me, it is anyway. Yes, there's a poem called Leisure by William Henry Davis. It was the poetry and the fact that somebody mentioned earlier on, I think it might have been yourself, Angela, about going out and going for a walk and, having your earbuds in and not taking appreciation of what's there. Well, leisure actually addresses that. What is this life if full of care we have no time to stand and stare? And it starts to talk about appreciating nature. And what happened with me is my dad back in 2004 had to have a brain operation, had a brain tumor. They cut it back and gave him a few more months to live. And it was Christmas Day, came out of hospital Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, he just suddenly, we never had any inkling beforehand, but he just burst out actually into reciting this poem. Never even knew of it beforehand or anything. But just the sheer fact that was his last message that I remember clearly outstanding is then, what is this life if full of care we have no time to stand and stare?
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat. Okay, time for one more. Andrew.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, just something that I've done, and which relates to what Angela has said, is I've started when I go for morning coffee, which is a 10-minute walk just down the road, is that I purposely leave my phone home. The phone was becoming an attachment. So I find that, and doing it through the day or at night, just putting it away, because it was too easy. When you're doing business, I'll just go in and check that email. I'll just go and check if there's any messages. And look, at the end of the day, if something's important, you'll get to it when you get to it. And I think it's really good that just having that little bit of time, and when you're actually sitting down having the coffee, you're really tasting what you're drinking and just concentrating on that moment. So yeah, thanks, Angela.
Yeah. So as I say, every distraction we get, it takes, like we get the notifications on our phone, each time we're drawn away from what we're doing, it takes us about 23 minutes to get back on target again. So think about all the time that we lose each day when we let ourselves go taken off track. Okay. Thanks very much for